you've had the opportunity in your life to pursue both your passions, both baseball and music. Would you consider yourself a lucky man?
I consider myself a very blessed man,
Yeah.
very blessed person. I mean, it's interesting because all that I could think of when I was a kid was to be a good baseball player. I mean, I went through the whole training thing and just kind of disciplined myself. But I also had music in like on the side, and I didn't realize how important music was in my life until I became older and realized, well, I've been doing this all my life, and it's like part of my essence, I guess. So the fact that I was able to finish a career in baseball at late 30s and being able to sort of start over, and I by any means pretend to be a master guitar player at this point, but I think that the cool thing about the whole process is that I'm getting to enjoy the process a lot more than when I was a baseball player. But when I was a baseball player, it was about making it to the big leagues and staying there, a lot of pressure, a lot of high profile. It was about what have you done for me lately. If you struck out, you were the GOAT. If you hit a home run, you were the hero, and you were like, and it was a lot more, it was a lot harder to keep an even keel mind because you were exposed to so much failure and success and failure. Music, you kind of take it at your own pace, and the experience that I had in baseball has been able to serve me very well in music, and thinking that I am not only enjoying my progress, but I am enjoying the process. And that's one thing that I can take from the baseball into the music that I didn't have in baseball. I don't know if that answered your question,
No,
but
it
I was
does.
just went on a
It does. It does. You told us a lot about your musical background, but who really inspires you? Who are a few of your favorites?
My father.
Really?
My father, hands down. This is a guy that had us later in his life. He was around 38, 39 years old. He had traveled all over the world as a merchant marine and had a very odd couple with my mom. She was very like down to earth and staying in one place. My dad was all over the place. He decided to settle down. And I think they were very ready to have kids. I have a brother, he's 1 year younger than I. He plays the cello, by the way. And he took the time. I mean, now that I had the opportunity to be a father as well. Seems a long time ago, like 20 years ago. How old are you?
19.
Oh my God. She's making me feel so. Anyways, I can understand the fact that he took time to spend with us. And for me, having an opportunity of being a father, I know that took a lot because he was working. And I know how you can come back from work and being all tired and frustrated, with all the things that you have to go through and still take time. I mean, I know that that's what you're supposed to do and that's what's expected of you. I'm just pointing out the fact that it had to be hard. Yeah. And he took time to show me how to play the game. He used to play catch with us every day. And he was the one that actually got me into playing the guitar.
Really?
He had a guitar he brought from one of his trips in Spain. And I was just listening to him when I was about 6, 7 years old, and I asked him, "Can you teach me some chords? I would like to learn." And he did, and that sort of started the whole thing. So to me, my dad was definitely my inspiration. It's starting to do all these other things.
Wow. And what made you choose jazz? Out of all the genres, what really spoke to you about jazz?
That's an interesting question because, I mean, I don't really consider jazz per se. I mean, my pursuit of jazz is not that I want to play jazz. And I think the way that I see it is like, if you want to be an eloquent speaker, right? You read books, you read Shakespeare, you read, all this great, authors. And I think at some point something is going to rub off on you and you're going to be a more eloquent speaker. So to me, I think, what classical music and especially what jazz music does, studying all this great bebop scales and all this language, it makes my playing more eloquent. Like when you're playing, you're trying to say something. It's not about playing riffs, you know. It's not about just kind of like showing how great you can do things. It's about saying something, right? So, to me, studying jazz, it makes me more eloquent when I'm speaking through my instrument, and that's why I chose to study jazz.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, you've recently written a book citing the parallels between athletics and music. Could you touch upon that a little bit more for us?
Yeah. The book was written in collaboration with Dave Gluck and Robert Thompson, which at the time were the people at Purchase Conservatory at New York State University. And I think they wanted to write this book for me because I was taking a class with Dave Gluck, which is professor of studio composition in that school, and the class was about 1.5 hours, an hour and a half, and we would touch upon the subjects of the class, and then half of the time we were talking about. So if you were playing baseball, how would you prepare to do this, and so it started to get into this sort of give and take on my take on comparing music and baseball. And that sort of started the idea of writing a book, because every time he would take notes and we would have, like, I don't know, a book worth of information. So that sort of sparked the idea to write the book about the similarities and the differences and all the things that I could talk about my experiences in both fields.
Could you give me an example of a similarity?
Well, I think for music, the one thing that I noticed that it was different as opposed to playing sports, it was the fact that, you know, in sports, when I was playing, performing, at a real game in Yankee Stadium, for instance, I could go, through the 3.5, 4 hours of the game without interacting with anybody. It was more of an inward kind of thing. I had to like face the pitcher. I had to prepare myself to make a good catch, make a good throw, run the bases, and I could do everything without interacting with anybody. It was just about me and how do I perform in this particular game. And that, sort of I started getting into a comfort zone. And it was I was encouraged not to show any emotions, because the more that you show, the more you show your opponent. If you're nervous, if you're angry, if you're afraid, if you're tense, these are things that the opposition can take and use against you. So it was like, you were poker face. If you were angry at an umpire because he called a bad pitch on you, you couldn't show that. If you were angry because you struck out, or you were, mad, or you were kind of afraid of a pitcher because he struck you out like the last 2 times, you were still thinking that you were going to get that hit, or at least give him that impression. Now in music, when you're performing, it's basically the opposite. You have to show your emotions. You have to show that you care about the audience. You talk to them. You tell them stories about how did the songs came about, and you kind of like invite them into your world, and you kind of like want to feel vulnerable. It's like, this is me, man, and I hope you like it. It's kind of thing. As opposed to in baseball, it's like, no, this is, you cannot you cannot let him see you sweat. So I think that's one of the differences. And when I was starting to play music in a stage, that was my biggest challenge. Just to open myself up to the audience and let them into me and the band into what we were doing here. But the more that I'm doing it, it's getting more enjoyable. And obviously it comes down to preparation. The more that I know the songs and the more comfortable I feel playing them, the more I can let go of that pressure, and the more I can enjoy the audience, and I can, say I can actually have a great time saying, this is how this song came about, and I was in a slump, and I was, doing this and that, and I feel a little bit more free on stage nowadays.
Perfect. Is this your first master class?
I
Like,
think so. I
yeah.
mean, I've done like clinics with little kids in like in a field. I guess that could be a master class in baseball, but I don't think I've ever done a master class in music.
In music.
Yeah.
What's the most satisfying part with you being able to interact with all the students and all the kids?
What we did just maybe about 15 minutes ago, and I think to me that's what really gets me going. It's the opportunity to speak a different language with people, and it's very special because we have that thing in common. And you play to your personality. Like if you're shy, you're gonna kind of be a little shy playing. If you're if you're want to say a lot, you can say a lot. You can. But I think it's you approach it as a conversation, and when you talk to somebody for the first time, you want to show them your good side. It's not until like later when they see you know the real human being. So it was kind of like oh man, this is me. How you doing? Nice to meet you. And you play a little note, like kind of spark somebody's attention, and then they play something to kind of like counteract what you're doing, and that's the give and take. That it's like having a conversation with you. So it's the same thing, and I really enjoy that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys.